Good evening, everybody. This is your host, Huge Pop from the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. On tonight's show, we have another exciting wrestling interview with a guest from the independent scene. He began his training professional wrestling in Florida at the age of 13. He trained under Bullet Bob and Scott Armstrong and Harley Race. His first in-ring action was at 15 years old. He made his professional debut with NWA Wildside. He's been with NWA Wildside and throughout 2003. MCW Pro Wrestling. Our guest has been around the block in independent wrestling from Southern USA to Maryland. He became the WLW Heavyweight Champion in January 30th, 2009 under Harley Race. Welcome to the show, Steve Anthony. How are you doing, my friend?
Good, Scott. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, man. I really am. I'm glad. Thank you for taking the opportunity to come on my show. It gives me, like I said in the beginning, I'm a foster parent. It gives me a chance to get some self-care, and I appreciate you being willing to come on the show, man. And it's going to be a fun time. I hope you enjoy it. I certainly hope I enjoy it too. But before we go into the interview, we were just talking backstage. We have lost, the wrestling community has lost in the last month 3 huge individuals in the business. We talk about Sika passing away. We talk about Kevin Sullivan passing away. We talk about today, the Anawa family lost another one in Afa, Pops, if you will. We just need to give that family pray for that family, lift them up. They have lots going on, and I just think it's time that we would give them their respect. So keep them in your prayers, everybody who's watching. It's not easy. Not easy at all. I know I lost my mom in October, so I couldn't even begin to understand how they're feeling. Losing 2 in the last month of that family. I mean, the Wild Samoans. Who did not love the Wild Samoans, the Head Shrinkers? Oh my God, that was wrestling back in the day.
Oh, no doubt, right?
I mean, go ahead.
No, you're right. But one thing I'll say about that family, for sure, keep them in your thoughts and prayers. But that family, I've had the honor and the pleasure to be around them for quite some time through my career. But they're so tight knit, and look, man, they're not just physically strong. That family's mentally strong. So it's a tough loss, and that they'll mourn, but they'll be fine. They're strong. So
yeah, and I'd like to. Yeah, you're right, because you see it all over Facebook. Samoa strong, NWA is strong. They are strong. I mean, I think his daughter wrote something on Facebook. I'm not going to read word for word, but she's seen it. They thought they'd lose him this time. They are. He's a fighter. He's battling back surgery, heart issue. He's just a fighter, and he proved that. They are, and they again on Facebook. They're proud of their dad. They're proud of Pops. And it sucks that we lose a very important part of the legacy of wrestling, in my opinion.
For sure.
So anyways, back in the day as a kid growing up, I mean, you started at 13 in the ring and training at 13. So I don't know how much you could tell us. What was it like being a fan?
Man, so I was always a fan. I can't remember not being, I can't tell you, an actual age, but I can always remember raised by my grandparents. I'd sit in the recliner with my grandfather and we watch wrestling. And so through a family friend, I had the opportunity, Stanley Knockhand, who was an independent wrestler, went by the name of Chief Little Bear, who was trained by Boris Malenko. Finally kind of opened the door and gave me my foundation, so to speak, and like I said, opened the door and taught me the basics. And then, of course, like you said, from there, I was fortunate to meet guys like Ken Massey, who was a journeyman, here through the South, kind of Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas area. And then from there, Bullet Bob and Scott kind of took me under their wing, and then, finally ended up in Harley's hands. So who I owe so much to. If it wasn't for Harley, those WWE doors and Japan doors would have probably never opened. So.
Yeah, man. I mean, you got into the right training school for sure. You got the Armstrong. You got the Armstrongs, and you got Harley Race. I mean, what a resume that, what trainers. I mean, Harley Race is a legend, and and what training you must have got amazing training from that
Yeah, and those guys I give the most credit to, but I've been very fortunate throughout my career to be in the ring with guys like the Arn Andersons, um, just guys of that caliber, Ricky Steamboat, Fit Finley, Regal, who's helped me out a lot. So I've learned from so many different people.
guy. So now when it comes to training and being in the ring with like the Andersons, Regals, dudes that are huge, dudes that are massive, that know what they're doing in the ring. Do you think being trained by Harley Race and the Armstrongs got you prepared for that more
Oh
than
yeah,
any other school that you would have chose?
yeah, because what guys don't understand is, that that initial training is so important, that sets your base, right, that gives you a platform to build off of, because everybody's got their own thing. There's definitely a wrong way, but at the same time there's 100 right ways, so I would pick all their brains and just grab everything, but having that initial base is so important, and understanding the the physical part of it, from the bumps and the how tos and the running the ropes to match psychology, is so important. And I think it's a big thing. And I'm sorry, it might aggravate a lot of people these days, but I think it's a big thing that's lost today.
So you would think. So what I hear you saying, Mr. Anthony, is even when you're in the locker room coming through the system, the guys that are in the back, the legends that you get to meet, the legends that are there, is it a good thing to shut up and just listen to what they have to say?
Most definitely, most definitely. I learned at a very young age to pull up a chair and not bother those guys, but get close enough where I could hear them and see what they were talking about, and how they did things. And it's it's sad. And look, I love wrestling today. And it is what it is. But there's so many guys that want to do it their way, and I think you know what I'm talking about, and a lot of people these days do that. The respect factor, and I'll leave it like that. The respect factor is gone. When I was coming up, it was shut up and listen, kid. And that's how you learn. It was a lot of on the job training. Town to town. You didn't have the wrestling schools that you do now, and that's where you learn. You learn in the locker room. You learn riding in the car. You know, hell, I learned so much from. I know some people are familiar with him, and I know you are, Scott. Well, is John Saxon. Being a young kid and riding down the road with guys like him and Dusty Wolf. And just listening. Just shut up and listen. Close your mouth, open your ears, and you'll learn so much. That's
I,
anything in life, right?
yeah, it's funny you mentioned John Saxon because I'll get into it later on, but I get to see him tomorrow night at XIW Extreme Impact Wrestling. You know, and I'm not gonna sit here and BS you. I give that guy so much shit because he's in the storyline they're in. He's the leader of a faction with Jackson Slade and Big Sal. And he's what I see is he's bringing them down and destroy, make them lose and stuff like that. So I give him crap all the time, but I do know what you're saying. He is a brain. He knows what he's talking about. He's been in the business. Adrian Whisper, been in the business. Those guys know. Damian Wayne, I get to see those guys all the time. Vordell
Other,
Walker, we'll get to
yeah,
Vordell Walker. I'm sure you have things to say about Vordell Walker, but
yeah.
we you're right. You get around those guys, and even as a podcast commentator type thing, I listen to those guys. Hey, this is what you did. This we should do this. We should, And I'm like, yeah, because it's important. I mean, how do you get better unless you accept feedback, right?
Exactly. And a lot of young guys have a lot of trouble with that. They want you to tell them everything they did right and nothing they did wrong. And for me, it was totally opposite.
Yeah,
They wouldn't tell you what you did right. This is what you did wrong. Go fix it.
absolutely. So if we talk about your first match, 15 years old, you got into business at 13. 15, it said your first match was 15. Am I right?
No. So let's
Remember?
back
Okay.
up. Um, I'm gonna give away my age, but so 13 years old, 1991, June of 1991, I started training. October, and God, my first match, excuse my language, was the shits. It really was. I had no idea what I was doing, and I was in the ring with a guy that had a few years in the business, but when we're talking years versus experience, it just wasn't there. But so yeah, 13. Like I was 13 years old when I had my first match.
Wow. Did you walk through the
Yeah,
curtain with
my
all that
body didn't.
music? You walk through the curtain and hear your music play?
Yeah, but I don't. Things were so different then. It was. I remember because I was so young, and they had to hide my age. I wrestled probably the first 3 years under the White Ninja. So the music really didn't do much for me because it was Oriental music, and yeah, you could imagine 13-year-old
Absolutely.
kid. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
man.
I was just happy to be there.
100%. 100%. That'd be, I mean, I could imagine at 13 years old walking through the curtain to do something that you watched your favorite stars do. And that had to have been crazy. So let's debunk the rule of wrestling's fake. How unfake was it that first match? How did it hurt? Even now
So
today.
so let's go back to that. I hate the F word because nothing we do is fake. I, I'll let you get away with calling it sometimes maybe choreographed, but everything we do hurts. When we fall, it hurts. I don't care what you think's under that ring. It hurts. It hurts. Just imagine, going in the ring cold and just falling on your back. Yeah, shit hurts. You hit the ropes, that hurts. I mean, you're talking about um, most of the time air hose that's around steel cable, and you're running as fast as you can and hitting that. Yeah, it all hurts. It leaves marks. But you know, at 13, man, I was so dumb. Like it hurt, but I didn't know it hurt. If that makes sense,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I said, I was just so over the edge and on a natural high of just being in there. Yeah, at, at that age, I got tested a lot also. So I had guys that would purposely, because they didn't want me there, and honestly, at that age, I shouldn't have been there with my size. They would purposely go in there and just stretch me and try to make me quit. Because hey, it's a 13-year-old kid. He's got no business in our world. So I learned at a very young age how to protect myself and how to be tough.
Yeah. So would you consider a highlight of your wrestling career so far?
So far,
Yeah.
man, I've had so many, but I've always been, I've always wrestled as a junior for the most part, been considered a junior heavyweight. And I'd say, aside of everything, being Harley Race's head trainer, picked by him himself, acclimates like that. But as far as in the ring, defeating Jushin Thunder Liger and Tiger Mask both for the NWA World Junior title, both times in Japan. Well, I'm sorry, Las Vegas at the Cauliflower Alley is when I beat Liger, and then I went back and wrestled him in Japan and beat him again, and then I won the belt from Tiger Mask in Japan. It was like the biggest thing for me. Here I am, top of the world, two top junior heavyweights in the world. I beat them in their own country. Yeah, really, really big for me.
Wow. Wow. So we talk about New Japan and we're talking about United States. Is there a big distinctive difference in the styles and the crowds, etc.?
Yeah, there definitely is, and I think it's weird because Japanese wrestling, especially New Japan, has become a little bit more Americanized, and then on this side of the globe, a lot of guys are now trying the Japanese style. Not all guys get it, but But now it's a little different. But years ago it was very different. Crowd interaction, match style was very different. Now it kind of blends a little bit more together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I was reading through your Facebook thing, and I love these stories. You have it says what, and I copied it. I was just going to read it. One more quick Harley story. I was defending the WL Championship Harley Races organization against Superstar Steve. I believe it was Belvoir, Missouri, around 2019, 2010. We went for the time limit, and the crowd was chanting 5 more minutes. Steve could have beaten me in 5. Me being the heel champion, I was rolled up saying, "No." I feel a hand on my shoulder, thinking it was a fan grabbing me. I turned around, ready to swing, and it was Harley Race.
Yeah. So, I was a champion at the time, Harley's top heel. And Harley always sat at what we called Harley's table. And he watched everything from that table, and mingled with the fans or whatever, but he watched everything. So, you know, break a little kayfabe here. We went the time limit, and I rolled out doing the whole 5 more minutes, and I'm heading to the back. That's it. That's what it was supposed to be. And all of a sudden, at this particular show, we didn't have guardrails, but we had the hey, fans don't cross this line kind of deal. I feel a hand on my shoulder, so first thing I'm thinking is, here we go, is game on. When I turn around to swing, I see it's Harley. And he looks at me, his eyes are wide as can be, and he hits me with that left, and then just grabs me and says, "You're not done," and rolls me back in the ring. And for a minute, you know, and looking at him and then looking at Steve, and we were both just like, what the hell just happened? All right. But even at his age, which he was, I'd say then late 60s, you know, he was so unpredictable. You never knew, and he still had that want. If he could have been in the ring the day before he died, I guarantee he would have. He loved wrestling. He loved entertaining the fans. He loved the fans. Harley had one of the biggest hearts, man. He's just I get chills just thinking about him.
Now he's Barbara Goodish's husband, correct? Is that right?
No, no, no.
No.
So Harley was married several times, but at that time he was married to BJ.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was married to BJ, who we all love BJ, but BJ was BJ. I'll tell another quick story. Matter of fact, I told that one on my Facebook. I put a few stories because what was August 8th, I think it was,
Yeah.
made the 5th-year anniversary of Harley's passing. But as much as BJ loved me, just the mindset back then was so different. And like I said, I was Harley's champion and the top heel at the time, and I had that mindset that I didn't want to go and sign. It was demanded mostly by her that all the wrestlers, good guy, bad guy, didn't matter. Before the show and at intermission, you went to the tables, you sold your pictures, you signed autographs, you shook hands, kissed babies, high five daddies, whatever. And I just wouldn't do it, and she would always fuss. And, Harley comes to me one night and he's like, "Kid, I need you to go to the tables." I said, "Boss, I'm not going to the tables. I don't even want the people to think that I'm a nice guy, and I might not get what I want from them. Go to the tables." I said, "Boss, even Elvis never let the people get that close to him." God, Scott, he looks at me, his eyes wide open, and what we call the Harley look. "If you don't go to the table and I got to hear her effing mouth, Elvis is dead and you will be too." "No problem, boss. I'm going to the table. No problem."
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sounds like BJ has some stroke, right?
Oh, yeah. BJ had some stroke. If it was he had to hear her fuss about us, yeah, we were in trouble. So
That's awesome. That's an awesome story, man. So let's talk about influences in your career. I mean, obviously, Harley Race, would be a big one. Is there any more influences that in your career that's helped you get to the level that you're at?
man, so many. But I have to start off with first, the guy that opened the door, because if Stanley Knockham, like I said, we knew him as Chief Little Bear, would have never opened that door, me and you wouldn't be here right now. So first and foremost was him. Then Ken Massey, who for whatever reason saw something in me and right away took me under his wing and started teaching me. Then throughout my career, man, guys like John Saxon, Dusty Wolf, who I didn't know at the time. I always thought Dusty was messing with me, but if wouldn't have been such a hard-headed little prick and just listened to him a little bit more, I'd have learned a lot more from him. The Armstrongs, man, even a guy that came up with me at the same time, I learned from Luke Hawks, just so many guys that you know I believe things happen for a reason. God puts people in your life for a reason. These guys just help steer me, to make it to where I'm at now. So, man, the list goes on and on. Steve Regal, just so many people.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, if there's any advice you'd like to give to some up and coming people getting into business, what would it be, both good or bad?
If you really want to get into business, before you make that call, you make that place, ask yourself why. Why do you want to get into business? And if that answer is because I love it, think about that. Think about that. Because I'm going to be blunt and I'm going to be honest. You love it, but the money that used to be there, and unless you make it to WWE, the money's not there. Or you make it to Japan, the money's really not there. So are you willing to make that sacrifice? Are you willing to miss that anniversary, miss that birthday, miss every important thing in your life because you love it? No, I'm in it because I need to make money. I want to make money. And that may sound selfish and it may sound wrong, but that's why you're in it. And then second is with everything you see on TV, that's not what this business is designed to be. And that's a big thing too nowadays. At the end of the day, this is a business. It's not me and my buddies going hang out. This is a business. We do what we do for a reason. Treat it as a business, learn the business, and respect the business.
Now, when you say learn the business, respect the business, I hear two other words: pay your dues and brotherhood.
That's it. That's it. Because in the end, we're all there to make a living, or we should be there to make a living. So take care of your brother. I ain't got to say, I'm not saying you have to like him because we don't all get along, right? But
Right.
in the end, we're there for the same reasons. It's no different than working an 8 to 5 job. That there's a lot of dangers in. Take care of your people. You
I
know,
mean, that goes inside the ring. You're talking about inside the ring, correct?
Yeah, inside and outside, man. Because it's not as crazy now, but back in the day, you're out having a little fun late at night and things happen. You know, I got to take care of my brother, man. I got to lean on my brother. So take care of each other, man. Help each other out, watch over each other. You know, like I said, it's so different now. But back then, you were on the road so much and you were away from your family. Those guys became your family, and we're grown men and we don't like to wear our emotions on our sleeves, but we all go through something, right? You never know what anybody's has going on at home. So, man, take care of each other. You never know when somebody's on the edge. So watch over each other.
So Steve Anthony, the character Steve Anthony, the guy Steve Anthony, do you live out who you are in the ring?
So most of the time I'm on the bad guy side. So no, because I mean you see where we're at right now, but when I'm in that character, I'm the most cockiest,
Okay.
God's gift to women, God's gift to this earth, hell, I'm from the heavens, right? God sent me here for
Right.
you people. I'm so over the top. It's easy to hate me, right? And
Right.
of course, if I'm on the other side, I'm that, but a little bit toned down. It's so weird because when me and my wife first started uh, dating, she was so unsure, knowing who I was with her, to what she saw in the ring, she was like, "Where does this come from?" So yeah, I'm a complete 180. Yeah, for sure.
All right. So you shared a little bit about fans and your experience with Harley Race, and that you didn't want to go to the merch, and BJ said, "Hey, get that guy to the merch tables," and you ended up at the merch tables. So I say that to ask this question: how important are the fans to Steve Anthony, to wrestling, and all those interactions that you would have with them during the match and after the match?
Man, the fans are everything, man. Without fans, we don't have a show. We don't have a business. The fans are everything. And look, once again, it's probably not going to be a popular thing these days, but I think too many guys these days are worried about what the guys in the locker room think of their character or their match. They're not thinking about the most important thing, the fans, because that's who pays to see us, right?
Yeah.
If you can go out and think you had the best match, and your buddies in the back can you walk to the back and high fiving you, that was great, and the fans sat on their hands the whole time. What does that tell you? They're not coming back, right? It's all about the fans, man. It's all about the fans. It's we're just there. The fans make the match. I heard somebody say that, and it made so much sense. The fans make the match. You could have the best wrestling match, and if the fans aren't into it and don't care about it, then it means nothing, right?
Right.
You you look at guys that drew money back in the day. They might have not had the greatest bodies. They might have not been the most technical wrestlers, but they were able to connect with the fans. They knew how to get the fans behind them, and that's everything then, and it is now, because you can do all the flippity floppity BS that you want, but if the fans ain't buying it and it don't make sense to them, they're not coming back. And if they quit
True.
coming, guess what? You're out of business, right?
No shows. Right. Yeah. So I told you earlier I had some kids I take care of. Of course, they'd like to talk to Mr. Scott about what he does, and so they asked if they could ask you some questions.
For
So I
sure.
said, sure. I I have no problem with that. So they're basic questions. Sometimes a lot of wrestlers get stumped by these questions. I don't know why. They're just crazy questions, right?
Kids ask the craziest questions.
Favorite food?
Favorite food, man. I love it's a toss up, man, because I'm a real big sushi fan, but I'm also a real big Thai fan. So sushi Thai Thai food. It's a kind of toss up.
Okay. If you had pizza, does pineapple belong on a pizza?
Man, look, I have no problems with pineapple on a pizza. I'm a sweet fan, so it doesn't bother me.
Okay.
That's vanilla chocolate, right?
Right, right. Favorite book?
Favorite book, man. I'd honestly have to say the Bible.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, honestly, have to say the Bible.
Awesome. Favorite TV show?
Hmm. Well, since I don't watch much TV, my boys are older now. They don't control the TV, but my daughter does. So pretty much anything she wants to watch is my favorite.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's me. Anything my wife wants to watch, that's my favorite.
yeah, yeah. We don't. Me and the wife don't control the TV. She
Right.
does. But yeah,
Absolutely. I get that. I get it.
yeah. Look, the little bit of time that we actually get to sit in front of it, it's like whatever.
Is there a favorite movie you've seen lately?
Oh man, that kind of goes. I don't get to watch a whole lot of movies, but the last movie that I was, and it's an older one, but I actually finally got to sit down and watch the whole thing. I promised my daughter I would. Was actually Moana.
Okay.
So yeah, Yeah.
Do you have any favorite sports teams?
You know, I'm a big sports fan. I'm a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. You know, from my time in Missouri, and I'm also a big Saints fan.
Okay.
When it comes to baseball, I've always been an Atlanta Braves fan through the thick
Okay.
and thin. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. What is your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers?
God, Harley for sure. Um, Nick Bockwinkel, Harley Bockwinkel. Um, I'm gonna put Dusty in there for so many Dusty Rhodes for so many reasons. Yeah, Dusty, Harley, Nick, and you know, Flair has his thing, but honestly, I think I'd go with Steamboat. You know,
Okay. Yeah.
and honorable mention. This is gonna sound crazy, and I don't think people understand why, but just pure wrestling ability would be Steve Regal.
Well, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I have to ask this because I watched the podcast and this was a pretty interesting question for me. Um, who would you say is your least favorite gimmick in wrestling history?
His favorite gimmick in wrestling history. Hmm. Man, God, the last days of WCW, there were so many terrible ones, man. But to say the least, I don't know that whole Shockmaster thing was pretty terrible, wasn't
Yeah, yeah,
it?
well, it was
uh,
horrible. Yeah, that was on
the
the top list.
Zodiac, yeah, the Zodiac, God, there was so many, man.
I'm gonna ask a question related to that in a second, but um, we talked about Alpha, Sika, Kevin Sullivan. Do you have any stories that you could share with us? Quick stories with your interactions with Alpha, Sika, maybe Kevin Sullivan.
Sullivan always scared the hell out of me, man. I never got to work with him. I was around him the night that I won the junior belt, and he came over and gave me some good advice and some really good critiques, and he didn't have to, so I greatly appreciated it. Alpha never got the chance to be around. Met him a few times, but as far as wrestling, never was around him. But Sika, I was around a good bit. I actually worked his Pensacola deal for him quite a few times. Matter of fact, I was telling you a little bit before we went on air. We did a dual promotion show. Sika had his group, and at the time I was working for Ricky Gibson, who, if you guys don't know, was the older brother of Robert Gibson. Great talent, man, just great talent in the ring. Car wrecks and whatnot took him out way too soon. But anyway, we did a interpromotional deal, and of course, we came in as the heel faction on that end, and it was me and Joe Kane against two of Sika's guys. Man, I can't quite remember who it was, but our manager was Marcel Pringle, who was the cousin and close relative of Percy Pringle. Paul Bear
Okay.
was our manager, and after the match, of course, we cheated to win, and Marcel went on to say how we were the better guys, we paid our guys better, we trained harder, and Sika's guys didn't train as hard, and they didn't get paid as well because Sika had deep pockets and short fingers. And man, I guess Sika didn't take too kindly to that, and completely straight out of nowhere hits the ring with a chair, clears us all out, and he meant business. It wasn't no, hey, this is part of the show. And I knew right away that, yeah, this Sika might be an age, but he will still fight if he had to. But yeah, and then that was that memory. But my fondest memory of Sika, I think it was a second annual Brad Armstrong Memorial show we did in Pensacola, and I wrestled the main event. And after the match, I grabbed the mic and said a few things about Brad. And as I was talking, Sika walked to the ring, called me over, and shook my hand and said, "That's probably one of the best wrestling matches I've seen in a long time." And for a guy like Sika to tell you something like that, he made it a point to come to the ring, cut me off, and let me know in front of everybody, "Hey kid, that was good." So yeah.
That would probably be one of
Bless
the
his heart.
things. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So gimmicks, right? I'll probably catch hell from this tomorrow if these guys are watching. But I'm going to bring up a name, Lucha Lacora,
And
Ray
what do I think
Fury,
about it? Yeah.
Ray Fury.
I've been in the ring with both of those guys, man, and they're good talents, bro. They really
Yeah,
are. They work their butts off. They really do, man.
yeah, they do. Absolutely, 100%.
All positive.
But
All,
something happened
all
between
positive.
you. Something happened between you and Lacora, right? That he may have been that masked
Yeah,
man. That masked man.
yeah.
There's
You know,
rumors, right? So can you elaborate on
yeah.
that?
So make a long story short, about about 4 years now, because I've been back almost a year. So about 4 years ago, I decided I was done. It didn't have my heart wasn't in it anymore, and I always said when I didn't feel it, it was time to go. So I left, and then about 3 years later, I started getting messages from Bordell Walker. Really, is that how this is going to end? Are you really going to let it end like that? And what a lot of people don't know is, me and Bordell Walker were really, really, really close. I'm talking, I've been to his house. He's been to my house. He knows my wife. He knows my kids. We're really tight. So just these weird messages, like trying to bait me, and I'd always laugh it off. Man, come on, I'm done. I'm done. Until a point where, man, he starts showing up at my house. Like at midnight when we're sleeping, or sometimes we wasn't here, and just like leaving stupid retarded messages on my ring, like, "Hey, look, I brought your balls back to you," and stuff like that. To the point where it got so bad, I was like, all right, well, we're gonna do this. One more match, we'll do it. So we do this one match where God knows how long in the match, and I got him pretty much where I want him, and here comes a guy, hits both of us with a kendo stick, and leaves us both laying, and here comes Lucha. Making videos saying that he was the guy and this and that. So yeah, of course I wanted a piece of him.
Yeah, he's great talent, and so you showed him why you were the explanation point, correct?
Oh yes sir, yes sir.
So you mentioned Vordell Walker. I mean, you got Vordell Walker and Validation coming up August 7th, well, tomorrow.
Um, actually,
August,
next Saturday.
August 24th. August 24th.
Correct.
So how are you going to prepare for him? What do you have to say? What does he need to know? What words do you have for him? And is there another guy that's involved? It's a three-way, correct?
Yeah, so now I guess the cat's out the bag now. It's the whole deal was this Corey Constantine guy was behind the whole thing. But as far as Vordell goes, man, it's tough. There's not a whole lot I can say other than just why. Why did it get to this point, man? We were so close, and now we're so far, and you let this one question of, am I better than you? Are you better than me? Get in the way of a great friendship for what, man? So for me, I know Vordell, like the back of my hand, and he knows me like the back of his. it's gonna be a fight. That's all I can say. Corey Corey's a concern because he stuck his nose where it didn't belong. But my concern mostly is Vordell, man, and I don't know what it's going to take to finish this. But if anything positive, I kind of enjoy this last year coming back, and just kind of revive. But once again, I kind of let wrestling take me away from my family life. So that bothers me, and that was the biggest thing with Vordell. He knew I was in a good place. He knew I was in a happy place, and just didn't want to leave well enough alone.
Yeah, absolutely. So another friend of the show, I have this question: when do you plan on fighting Stray Dog Barrett Brown? What beef do you have with the Stray Dog?
So Barrett Brown is to me is a young Steve Anthony, man. It just there's so much, he reminds me of myself so much. Great talent, hard worker, just gives it his all. The beef I'll leave it out of the public, but man, he knows what it is. I know what it is, but before I put the tights away again, we're gonna sell it once for all. He's gonna have to learn that I'm still the man. You're one day you will be, but not yet. I'm still a man.
So Barrett Brown, you heard it live on Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. Steve Anthony says he's one day before he hangs up the tights. Steve Anthony is still the man. You're not. So I just had to ask a question. He was on I met him through CWF, Rockwall Christian Wrestling Federation down in Texas. He came on the show through them, and so I've seen that you guys have some beef. That's why I wanted to ask that question. So
yeah, but look, man, all beef aside, can't take anything away from him, man. He's a hell of a talent. He's worked his butt off to get where he is today.
100%. Kenneth Frogman LeBlanc says, when you used to work for him, he was a ninja. That's how he started off in Homa. Did I say that right?
Yeah, so Homa, Louisiana. Yeah, I did. I worked for Frogman. He had his own promotion. When he left the world class area. He's always from Louisiana, but he moved back here, settled in, and like I was telling you, my first few years, because of my age, they had to hide me. So yeah, I worked as the White Ninja.
Okay. So another person wants to know, when are you going to come back to Wildcat Sports and wrestle if they book you?
Man, Wildcat, it holds a special place in my heart. First ever Wildcat champion, two-time Wildcat champion. I like to say that I was one of the pillars that helped build that place, man. And to see what it is now, it's just great. It always had just a certain vibe, man. The crowd, the atmosphere. I love Wildcat, and yeah, But before I hang it up again, I definitely like to run that area one more time.
All right. So you call yourself the explanation point for a reason. Do you believe Koloff and his cronies will fight a clean battle coming up?
No, man. Come on. He's Russian. He won't.
All right. I've known Steve for 15 years now, and to say that it's been a privilege and is an understatement. He was head trainer when I started here. He was welcoming, absolutely, but at the same time pushed me to new levels. His abilities in the ring and how he conducted himself outside of the ring proved and still does prove why he is the head trainer. Steve and his family, wife and family, are some of the best people out there, and I'm proud to be able to call them friends, and most importantly, family. So those are just people that sent me statements about you, and you got a lot of praise, man. You prove yourself in the ring. And I got to believe it's because how you were trained, right?
Yeah, training for sure. But it started by my upbringing, man. I owe everything to my grandmother and grandfather. They raised me right. Respect people. It doesn't matter. What the differences is, whether it's color of skin, nationalities, whatever. You treat people for what they are.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So, who do you admire in the business?
Man, there's a lot of people that I admire. One guy I have to go back and mention his name. I left him off of the guys that helped me out and inspired me, but is Les Thatcher. If you don't know Les Thatcher, my God, do your homework. Les has been in the wrestling business for, oh my God, hell, Les is probably 70, 80 years old. He's probably been in the business that long, but Les and the older guys, and I'll tell you why I say that, because those guys paid their dues, they did their time, and they don't have to be around. They really don't. But because they love the business and they want to see it grow, they're trying to help guys like me and the younger guys to make it all better. And I admire that. They don't have to, but they still want to be. And I'm going to be honest, Jushin Liger, you know, even though I went to war with him, a guy like that who has done everything, has been the top junior heavyweight, arguably. I mean, say what you want, but in my book, he was the top junior heavyweight in this era and before me. To be so humble, I admire guys like that. You know, when he could be arrogant, he didn't have to give me the time of day, and he did.
Yeah, absolutely. You another. So how did you transition from Steve Southern to Steve Anthony?
Well, that was through the words of Bill Behrens. And Bill Behrens was, the booker at the time for NWA Wildside. I made a few trips there and was just really trying to find myself back then. And, I remember Bill kind of talking to me after a match, probably wasn't so good, and just giving me advice and pointers. And I always remember the one thing he said to me. He's like, if none of this sinks in, he's like, do me a favor, drop that southern last name. He said, because it's regional, you need something more. So that's when, my middle name is Anthony, so we now Steve Anthony.
Awesome. So I've seen that you wrestled on Raw against Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase Jr. So talk about that experience. How'd that call come up? What's it like in the back with other guys in WWE? Can you discuss that?
Yeah, so it was the night after that Cody and Teddy had won their first WWE Tag Championships, and I, I knew Teddy because Teddy came from Harley's. So right about the time I was coming in, he was leaving. He had got signed, so we knew each other, and he saw we were there that night and kind of put a word in, and we ended up getting to wrestle those guys on Raw. It was a really quick match, but still, um, we wrestled those guys live on Raw the night after they won the tag belt. So
So I mean, I mentioned those two names, and I can mention Brian Cage, Shelton Benjamin, Tim Storm, all those guys. I'm sure you wrestled more legends as well, more veterans in the business as well. So, what is it like? I mean, when you wrestle them um, at that level, is it any different than preparing for a independent guy coming up through the business?
Uh, yeah, it can be. From a work standpoint, it's kind of what we call a night off. With those guys, and nothing against the indie guys, because some of those guys are the same. It's a night off, but with those guys. it's a little bit easier to study and to figure them out because there's so much material on them. You can YouTube them, go anywhere and find. Where some of the indie guys, it's kind of hard to find out, what you're up against. There's not a lot of footage on them, so you don't always know what you're getting yourself into.
Okay. You do get. I mean, I have to throw this out there. I'm going to see this guy tomorrow, Jackson Slade. I can tell you what he told me about you. He says he's one of the best unsigned guys out there. He says, I know a lot of people say that about people to get them over, but in this case, it's very true. So you're leaving an impression on these younger kids. I mean, I call Jackson Slade a kid because he's a lot younger than me. Built like a brick shit house, has skills like crazy. But again, like I said earlier, he's under John Saxon's puppet strings. And when he became under John Saxon, he lost his championship, but he doesn't want to see that part of it. But for a guy to say that to you, how does that make you feel for guys in the business to recognize Steve Anthony for what he's done?
No, it definitely makes you feel good, man. It makes you know that you're doing the right things. And look, I don't know everything, but I'll help whoever I can, however I can. But to hear that, it does. It makes you feel good.
So you were out of action for for some time. Well, somebody wants to know what woke the sleeping legend up and made him hungry to come back. What happened? What was going on?
Like I said, I was done, and sometimes I look back at Vordel's reasoning, and I want to say that he was kind of sad, because we were also together on the road. We traveled together, so maybe he felt a loss, and he was trying to get that back. He wasn't ready for me to go. But then sometimes I just wonder if it ate him up so much, because it's always been said, oh, Steve Anthony is, the best in the South. Did that eat him up so much that it turned him bitter? Were we really friends this whole time? It's I don't like to get in my own head, but it just makes me wonder. What's your real reasoning, man? Is it jealousy? Which I get it, because I've never claimed to be the best in the South or the best in anything. I know I can hold my own, but I've never put that title on me. Other guys have, and as you just mentioned, with Jackson's comments, those guys have said that. I've never said it. Or was it just Vordell was looking out and maybe thought that I still had a few years left in me and wasn't ready for me to go? I don't want my buddy to go. I don't know. I don't know. But that was the whole deal. Vordell pushed those buttons, and then when he made personal appearances to my house uninvited, it got to where I couldn't let it slide anymore. I had to stand up, protect my family, and do what any man would do.
Well, hopefully August 24th, that'll be settled. And
I hope so, man. And I'm not saying once it's all settled between me and him that I'm gonna go back in the retirement. I really don't know. I'm kind of enjoying my time back, but we'll see.
Yeah. So if I mention names like Damian Wayne, have you had any experiences run-ins with Damian Wayne?
Oh yeah, North Carolina, AML wrestling. I wrestled Damian Wayne. Knew his stuff for years, man. Always thought he was great in the ring, and got to work with him one night. And yeah, really good. Matter of fact, we both felt good about it. I know he went back to his locker room, and I heard this from guys, but when I got back to mine, Hacksaw Jim Duggan was waiting on me and sat me down and really gave me a good rapport that match. So
you mentioned Cauliflower Alley Club, so I just came into my head. I gotta ask you, have you ever had any experience with the promoter Herb Simmons?
No, I actually haven't.
Okay. He runs SICW, He takes a lot of guys to the Cauliflower Alley Club, so I didn't know if he's from Missouri. They run out of Bellevue Fairgrounds or something like that. So I wasn't sure if you had anything like that.
I know the name, but I don't think we've ever crossed paths.
Okay. And the last person I want to ask you about, Chase Stevens. You ever had any run-ins with him?
Yeah, I love Chase, man. Chase is a good guy. Matter of fact, we had a really good deal at one time. It was called AWA Wrestling in the Tennessee area, and we would run a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Chase was kind of heading that up, man. And he brought me in, and I was able to spend a little time around him. Just a great guy. Now he's a guy I've never had the opportunity to get in the ring with, but God, I would love to. But me and Chase kind of heard about each other way before we ever met, because Tracy Smothers would tell him about me and tell me about him all the time. So it was, Tracy was our connection, and God rest his soul, man. Tracy was another guy I got to give props to, who was a big influence for me and really helped me out a lot.
Awesome, man. So your next thing, I'm just gonna let you close the show. I know that there's events coming up for you. Can you tell people where they can get your merch? You can tell people where you're at next, and if there's any closing remarks you need to shoot at Lucha Lacora, at Vordell Walker. Just, it's your time to express how you feel about this upcoming couple weeks.
Well, first of all, thank you, Scott, for having me. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully we can do this again. Merch, got a whole new merch store we're working on, so new merch coming. Like I said, I took a 3-year, I was done, and here we go again kind of deal. So we're kind of revamping that area. But look, as whether it's Vordell Walker, Lucha Lacora, it doesn't matter. I may be a little bit up in age, but my age doesn't show and I don't feel it. So guys, just remember, as good as you think you are, as good as you may be, the exclamation point Steve Anthony is always going to be that much better.
Thank you, man. The Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. It's been a pleasure, Steve Anthony, to have you on the show. It's been a pleasure. You guys that are watching, please subscribe to the YouTube channel below. Facebook, if you're watching there. Go check out Steve Anthony's Facebook. You can find him on Facebook. He's going to be in action in a couple weeks. He's the explanation point for a reason. So, as we always say at Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast, it's Huge Pop Wrestling for life. Thank you, man.